Gold smashing up nearly 75% in 2025, and it started off 2026 in similar vein. We've already seen over 4% in gold and much more in silver in 2026. Hi all, and welcome to ATFX Precious Metal Focus. So my first recording for 2026, we saw massive moves in gold, and silver played catch up. It was like 75% appreciation in gold from the lows that we saw in January 2025 to the highs that we saw just at the end of December 2025, and a very similar story for silver. So they are going rockets at the moment, and already this year we've seen gold move up 4% and silver even more. And I suppose a lot of traders and a lot of investors out there are looking to see if we're going to see similar moves. Today we're going to have a look at the charts on the dailies and see where we could see the precious metals moving. Have a look at a couple of the reasons why. First of all, let's just have a quick check on the few of the reasons why we've seen this move. Now, a lot of traders out there, and I have to confess I'm one of them, some of the moves that we saw, particularly in gold and indeed in silver over 2025, were a little bit hard to explain, especially when we saw this breakup. For me, the breakup from these previous highs back in September, it's been a phenomenal run in gold, and we saw gold moving up even when safe haven trades weren't particularly attractive. We still saw days when stocks were moving higher. Normally that's a risk on, you'd see gold come off, but gold continued to plow higher. Now, there's been a few comments on why that's happened. A big store has been put in, massive portfolio diversification from big central banks and from other players as well, and big dollar debasement stories, movement out of US treasuries, for instance, certainly from some big sovereign names. So not always got the confirmation on this, and we have got data that comes through, some of it that a lot of people are taking on board, some of it that we think that there may be some more to come. But certainly for traders, we've got to trade what we see, and so we're going to have a look at potential opportunities here today. So one of the main drivers, of course, always with gold in particular and silver, safe haven. So definitely, and I suppose we do look at the US a lot, and we look at the US a lot for most of what goes on in global markets, but uncertainty across markets has increased since President Trump came in, and I suppose Venezuela, the recent issues in Venezuela are a good example of that, and we've seen a lot of that come throughout 2025, probably going to see some more coming in 2026, and that has helped gold move higher. Also, expectations of lower interest rates from the Federal Reserve Bank. They've seen that dollar sell-in. Obviously, we're looking at gold here against the US. We'll be looking at silver as well in a while. That has increased that momentum to the top side for gold. Central bank buying and currency diversification. I've touched on that before, and I feel that's a major player. That has been from those sovereign sort of nations, and we've seen a lot of that movement, and that's what I think kept it bid for so long. Plus, we've obviously seen some really good technical moves on there. In addition to this, of course, there is industrial demand for both gold and for silver across the board. They are used in industry. They're not just pretty metals, although obviously gold and silver, of course, are used a lot in the jewelry trade. There is an engineering principle. There are demand from an engineering and from industrial side of things. That has kept that move. So without any further ado, let's go and have a look at a couple of the charts and see where there's some potential for trading opportunities certainly coming up. And already at the start of 2026, there's trading opportunities both in gold and silver. So here we are on the daily gold chart, and those that tune into ATFX regularly, and of course you can subscribe to the channel again if you haven't already, will be more than familiar with this gold chart. As I said, we had a big break up in September from these levels here. This was the previous high, just around 3,500, and a massive move, and we topped out, as you can see here, on the 29th of December. He just says checking. Actually, it was the 26th of December. That high, 4549.71, stands as the record high. But as you can see, we've already seen a movement up in 2026 of about 4%. And we're sitting just around that 4,500 level. Gold challenging those, and it's trading nicely, as you can see, a nice trend line moving up. You will be finding buyers down here if we do get an opportunity to buy on dips around about this 43.50 level. I'll just make it look like we're at 43.50 there. But the target on the top side is going to be that all-time high that we've got up there at around about 45.50. If it breaks through there, it will open the way very quickly for 4,600. Some of the bigger banks, I think Morgan Stanley's calling for 4,800 in the first quarter, maybe second quarter of 2026. For the moment, we've started off 2026 as far as gold's concerned in the same vein that we saw it before. Safe haven demand. We feel there's sovereign demand out there. It does feel like it's still bid on dips, and certainly the technicals show that. Bear with me a second and we'll go and have a quick look at the silver chart. So here's silver on the dailies as well. And as I said, we had probably wasn't catching as much of the headlines, and there's not as much liquidity there as gold did across 2025, but still massive moves as we can see. I'll just adjust that so we're hitting on those lows. From these lows down here in November, we were like, where were we looking? We're kind of around about $50, we're up to 80. So massive increase and huge volatility, certainly during December. If you look at some of these days moves, massive opportunities, 10% on that day, down 8.7%, but an even bigger day in terms of range. Back up 5.86%, huge moves. And we have to take into account, of course, Christmas liquidity and some of these moves in silver. But once again, look, we dipped here down to $70. We're now back up $10 higher. So big moves, big trading opportunities. Support now coming in for silver on this. I suppose it's a longer term trend line, but it's relatively short given the steepness of that curve. Comes in around $73. That all-time high there, 83.62. We're only $1 and a bit away from that. A break higher through 84 really does open the way for moves probably straight up towards 90. And then there's talk that we could even see $100 in silver. So fantastic opportunities in precious metals. They're moving more than most of the other products that we've got out there. No doubt there we're going to see more moves this week. We've got key US data coming through, but those geopolitical influences that we're seeing, actions from the US, actions from Russia, actions from China, could see more moves across gold, across silver in the coming days, weeks and months. But I think one thing's for certain, given the moves that we've seen in silver and in gold over the last year, we're going to see more moves in 2026. So good luck with your trading. If you need anything from us at ATFX, please do let us know. Once again, subscribe to that channel. And thanks for tuning in. Happy New Year.